All right, let's jump right into this explainer and unlock the completely bizarre yet totally fascinating world of English idioms and phrases. Seriously, if you sit down and really think about the things we casually say to each other every single day, you'll quickly realize that the English language is wonderfully weird. We rely on this vast, hidden code of shorthand imagery to express really complex human experiences. And today, we are going to master it.
I mean, think about it for a second. Why on earth do we say it's raining cats and dogs when it's pouring outside? Or why do we accuse someone of spilling the beans when they accidentally let a secret slip? If you take these phrases literally, language sounds completely absurd. And honestly, that is exactly why we need to unpack how these idioms actually function. They aren't just random nonsense. They're highly efficient, deeply cultural metaphors that paint these instant, vivid pictures in our minds.
And this right here perfectly illustrates the difference between plain, boring English and the colorful shorthand that native speakers use all the time. You could painfully spell out that you have a useless possession which is extremely expensive to keep, taking up all the air in the room. Or you could simply call it what it is, a white elephant. Boom. It's instant, it's evocative, and it saves so much time. Idioms are literally the ultimate communication hack. To really wrap our heads around this, we've combed through our source data and curated the absolute best entries from a massive list of 325 phrases, chunking them into 6 distinct categories: decoding everyday idioms, the animal kingdom, money and business, conflict and chaos, highs and lows, and finally, the power of phrases. Organizing them like this makes them practically unforgettable. Okay, Section 1. Decoding everyday idioms, the common oddities. Let's kick things off with the phrases that pepper our casual conversations. The ones we use so often, we completely forget how strange they actually are. So the crucial point here is that these phrases rely on imagery, like baked goods or colors, to quickly convey an abstract idea. When a task is effortlessly easy, it's a piece of cake. When something happens totally unexpectedly, it comes out of the blue. And if it happens very rarely, well, it happens once in a blue moon. By tying ease to a sweet treat or surprise to the vastness of the sky, we instantly transmit an entire feeling, not just a fact. Moving right along to Section 2, the animal kingdom, beasts of conversation. It is honestly amazing how much of our communication relies on animals. Notice how we use animal actions as metaphors for human mistakes or inefficiencies or revelations. Carelessly revealing a secret, you just let the cat out of the bag. Achieving 2 distinct results with a single effort is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And if you are busy accusing the completely wrong person, well, you're just a hound barking up the wrong tree. We constantly borrow the instincts of the animal kingdom to explain our own human nature. But okay, some of these animal phrases are just delightfully bizarre. To spotlight just how weird this gets, our source data reveals that you might wave a dead chicken when you are attempting something completely useless. Just picture the sheer absurdity of that visual. It perfectly captures that futile, desperate energy of trying to fix a problem when you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. All right, on to Section 3, money and business, the corporate lexicon. Let's dive into the cutthroat realm of the corporate world, where the language gets incredibly specific. The business world might seem dry from the outside, but its insider vocabulary is anything but. These phrases vividly transform boring corporate actions into highly visual concepts. A massive severance package is a glittering golden handshake. A highly profitable product that's wonderfully dubbed a cash cow. And the highly illegal act of modifying financial statements to hide your losses, that's cooking the books. It turns sterile accounting into something that sounds like a sinister recipe. And then there's this one. If you are taking advantage of a business situation for personal gain, you might be accused of this highly evocative, bird-inspired phrase. To feather one's own nest means to make money unfairly, usually while you're supposed to be looking out for someone else. It paints this perfect picture of corporate greed completely disguised as comfortable domesticity. Which brings us to Section 4, conflict and chaos, words as weapons. As you'll see, idioms perfectly capture the heat of an argument. When human beings argue, our language naturally turns to the battlefield. Look at these. 2 people who are bitterly hostile aren't just mad, they are at daggers drawn. If someone aggravates a tense situation, they literally add fuel to the fire. And the underlying source of their quarrel, that's a bone of contention, just like 2 hungry dogs fighting over a scrap.
We use the literal words of war to describe boardroom debates and family arguments alike. And when conflict leaves you totally trapped, this specific phrase hits the nail on the head. Being between the devil and the deep sea means you are stuck between two equally catastrophic dangers. Whichever direction you turn, disaster is waiting for you. It's just so much more poetic than saying, I'm in a tough spot, right? Let's pivot to Section 5, highs and lows, the emotional spectrum. Because sometimes just saying, I'm sad or I'm happy doesn't carry nearly enough weight. Look at the progression here. It is absolutely fascinating. You can trace a clear path from the rock-bottom, low-energy state of being in the doldrums, which is actually an old maritime term for ships stuck in windless waters, to feeling just a bit under the weather when you're slightly ill. But then the mood shifts. You rise up to being in high spirits, and finally you elevate all the way up to floating on cloud 9 when you are absolutely euphoric. We're literally using altitude and weather to map out our internal emotions. Of course, if things go terribly wrong during those emotional lows, you might face the ultimate defeat. To bite the dust literally means to be defeated in battle, the vivid image of a fallen warrior hitting the ground. Today, we use it for everything from a broken appliance to a failed project. It's dramatic, it's final, and it's incredibly effective. Finally, Section 6, the power of phrases, rapid-fire verbs. For our last category, we are looking at the stealthy ninjas of the English language. These are verbs that change their meaning entirely just by swapping a single tiny word. Just look at how the root word break morphs right before our eyes. You have a mechanical failure? That's a breakdown. You decide to end negotiations? You break off. You dissolve a relationship? You break up. It is the exact same action word, but by simply changing down, off, or up, the entire context shifts from machinery to diplomacy to romance. And the exact same rule applies to the word fall. You fall down when gravity pulls you down. But if an army retreats, they fall back. If participation in an event starts to dwindle, numbers fall off. Mastering these subtle little shifts is honestly the true secret to sounding completely fluent and natural. Bringing it all together, all 325 phrases from our source data really hammer home this one singular, timeless truth. The pen is mightier than the sword. It means that words, ideas, and communication have a vastly greater, more permanent effect on the world than brute force ever could. The colorful idioms we've looked at today are absolute proof of that. They shape how we think, how we connect, and how we understand the complex world around us. So what does this all mean for you? Well, as you go about your day today, just listen. Listen closely to the people around you. Notice when they talk about cats, dogs, the weather, or sweeping things under the rug. And ask yourself, how many of these quirky, deeply historical phrases are shaping your reality right now without you even realizing it? Keep an ear out, and until next time, keep learning.